Committee of Ministry Secretaries appointed to take quick decisions to provide relief to those affected by the drought. An order from the President. Severe penalty against those who pollute the Kalani River.
දැන් කැලණි ගඟ ගත්තොත් කැලණි ගඟ දිගට තියෙන හෝටල් වලින් මේ දවස්වල අසුචි ජලයට මිශ්‍ර වෙලා අපි පහුගිය සතියේ මේ සාම්පල් එකතු කරා ඒකේ ගොඩාක් දුරට අසුචිය හඳුනා ගන්න සංඝටක එකතු වෙලා තියෙනවා.
European Union says 27 international conventions signed previously are the only criteria on which Sri Lanka's GSP Plus application is being considered on.
Coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo on TV1 and Shakti. Good evening. I am Shahin Rampati. This is Primetime News.
A very good evening. I'm Maina Bongzo. Here's a look at the stories in detail now. President Maithripala Sirisena has issued instructions to appoint a special committee comprising of ministry secretaries to make quick decisions to curtail the difficulties faced by the people during the drought. A discussion on providing relief to the people affected by the drought was held under the auspices of the President today.
During the discussion, President Sirisena had issued instructions for a committee to be appointed consisting of secretaries of the Ministries of Power and Renewable Energy, Mahawali Development and Environment, as well as City Planning and Water Supply. President Maithripala Sirisena had also instructed for a program to be implemented to renovate the dried up tanks in the country.
Residents of the Kalutara area are facing a severe crisis due to salt water mixing with the water of the Kethena water treatment plant.
The water levels of the Kaluganga have receded due to the drought, causing it to mix with seawater. As a result, close to 5,000 families living in the Kalutara, Beruwala and Alutkama areas are severely inconvenienced.
The army brings us water, but that is insufficient. We save that bit of water for our consumption. We cannot cook our food with that water. We cannot drink the water, nor can we do our laundry. We are in a severe crisis. The water is very salty.
This issue comes up at least twice a year. Around 2 years ago, this estuary was closed at a cost of nearly 15 million rupees. But about a year ago, they constructed a bunt upstream, apparently at a cost of 15 million rupees again. This is the people's money. Do not waste it. If this pipeline is extended from Thebuana to around 5 to 6 kilometers higher up to our water line, the people here would not have this salt water problem. A meeting regarding this issue was held at the Kalutara District Secretariat this morning under the auspices of the District Secretary. Following the discussion, it was decided that water would be distributed through bowsers.
A discussion headed by the President focused on drawing up plans to successfully assist people affected by the drought was held today.
As a whole, what I can say is that there will be some rainfall in the north, north central and eastern provinces after the 20th. We hope that this will happen, but we do not think that this will have a major impact on the drought. We hope that we will receive a significant rainfall, but until the end of March, we cannot receive a large amount of rain. As an additional preparation, we have called for tenders for 60 megawatts. This will be an emergency purchase and it will be for a time of 6 months. We will be able to send 20 megawatts to Haburana, Kandy and the south. We are trying our best to provide uninterrupted electricity to the country and we are prepared to even incur an extra cost to generate electricity. It takes about 30 rupees to generate a unit of electricity with diesel. We request the people to use electricity but to not waste it. There is a problem between 6:30 p.m. and 10 in the night. The government is saying that you cannot increase the cost when the people are facing hardships and that we have to manage and face the situation. This is what was communicated to us by the President and the Prime Minister. There is no problem in the near future with regard to the supply of water for drinking and other day-to-day activities. The Ministry Secretary received instructions from the Attorney General to act legally on those who misuse water, contaminate waterways and those who tap into underground water sources excessively. We will enact that immediately. The hotels that are on the banks of the Kalani River have released fecal matter into the river. We have collected samples last week. There are parts to identify that this was fecal matter. We are receiving complaints of those who contaminate water sources. We are working on that as well.
ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපි කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා.
අපිට දැන් කළුතර
If we take a look at the Kalutara district, the biggest problem we have is the seawater mixing with the water of the Kalu river. The salt levels in the water has increased. We have no alternative. We purify that water well and provide it to the people again. That can be used for purposes other than eating and drinking. We are providing water using bowsers for drinking and to prepare food. We have controlled the water in the Mathura district. If we cut the water supply for 1 hour, that will not be a big problem. We will inform if the water supply will be restricted.
කප්පාද නෙමෙයි සීමා කිරීම කරනවා අපි දැනුවත් කරනවා. ඒ පළාත් වල දැනුවත් කරනවා.
A decision has been reached to relaunch the Sirasa, Shakti, TV1, MBC and Newsfirst Sahana Yatra program to assist the thousands who have been severely affected due to the drought gripping most parts of the country. The Sahana Yatra program will begin accepting donations from 8:30 am tomorrow. A number of collection points have been set up to accept donations. You can drop off your donations at the MTV MBC head office in Braybrook Place, Colombo 2, the Science Studios in Ratmalana, the Department Studio Complex, as well as at the Harrison's office in Dali Road. Donations will be accepted for 2 days before they are dispatched to affected areas on Saturday.
සුපුරුදු පරිදි කැපිටල් මහරජා ආයතනය
The Capital Maharaja organization has decided to recommence the Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra with immediate effect. As you know, the country is facing a severe drought, so we seek your support. We will not be able to make this a success without your assistance.
සාර්ථක කරන්න අමාරුයි.
Whenever there is a natural calamity, Sirasa Network, that is Sirasa, Shakti, TV1, MBC and Newsfirst always come forward. We are doing this Sahana Yatra again starting from tomorrow for the drought affected areas. There are lots of people, millions of people who are affected by this. They don't have drinking water, particularly drinking water and other rations needed for this relief. So we would request all of you to come forward and help us doing this big cause for the country.
In more local news, the joint opposition lodged another complaint at the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption today.
The joint opposition has named the complaint as a top 10 list. Complaints were lodged against the Minister of Public Enterprise Development and the Board of Directors of Sri Lankan Airlines. The previous regime made arrangements to purchase airplanes together with Sri Lankan Airlines and a company named Aerocap. When discussions were held to cancel this agreement, this particular company expected compensation of $98 billion and $150 billion. So we are hoping to present this as a corrupt deal with 5 factors to support it. This agreement has been signed without a cabinet approval. They have not obtained permission from the Attorney General. They have also not involved the Secretary of the Ministry in any of these discussions. This is all being instructed by the advisor to the Prime Minister, Charita Ratwate. The government says that it does not have money and imposes taxes on people. 150 billion rupees has already been paid to Aircab as the first installment. Why did they pay taxes? Why did they pay this money? Discussions were held to give these 3 airplanes to 3 other companies. This agreement was reached when the discussions were ongoing. During the discussions, the Prime Minister instructed to stop the discussions and pay the 150 billion rupees.
Sri Lankan Airlines
Mahinda Rajapaksa's followers and the brother-in-laws should be held accountable for this. During the Rajapaksa regime, Mahindananda was quiet. But it's good that he brought this up now. The current government has tried to minimize damage caused by these deals to the country. But by the time the agreement was signed, the Rajapaksas have already made the deal and the payments. So we had to inherit the curse of the previous regime. We still have not been able to bring this back to normal.
අපේ ආණ්ඩුවට top 10 චෝදනා එල්ල කරන්න ගිහලා අන්තිමට මහින්දානන්ද අලුත්ගමගේ මහත්තයයි කලිසම තමයි ඔළුවෙන් ගැලවෙන්නේ.
A media briefing was organized by the National Unity Alliance today.
දැන් මහින්ද මාමා දැන් පාරට බයිනවා 27 වෙනි.
Mahinda is preparing to take to the streets on the 27th. Why? Is he going to distribute water to the people affected by the drought? The people will no longer come forward. They do not trust Mahinda. He had money in Swiss accounts. He had money in Dubai as well as Seychelles. He took over state lands and started a preschool called Carlton. So the money comes in even when he stays back at home. We have an issue with this Yahapalanaya government. Why are they not arresting members of Mahinda's family? Why aren't they arresting Gotabaya? What is the deal that the government has with them? If any other politician acquired this much property, engaged in fraud, created a white van culture, drove away journalists from the country or burnt down media stations, then they would have been jailed for at least 50 years. However, Mahinda Rajapaksa and Gotabaya Rajapaksa remain at large.
Mahinda Rajapaksa, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, තවමත් නිදැල්ලේ.
Let's now take a look at the views expressed by Minister Lakshman Kiriyalla at a media briefing today.
The steering committee for the constitution has not compiled a single statement. The 7 committees have various suggestions that have been provided. These are not the final suggestions. There were 2 new constitutions that were formed in this country. This is happening more openly than both those instances. The devolution of power through the 13th Amendment is not sufficient. The first leader to say that it was not enough was Mahinda Rajapaksa. He very clearly said that he would like to go into a solution that goes beyond the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. That was to settle things with India. What is the UNP doing today? They are doing what Mahinda Rajapaksa said back then. Why are they hindering it now? We are asking this on behalf of the government from the joint opposition. We are doing what they promised, what Mahinda Rajapaksa promised.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ පොරොන්දු වෙච්ච දේ අමාත්‍යමනේ ඔබතුමාගේ ප්‍රකාශයත් එක්ක පොඩි ගැටලුකාරී සහගත තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙනවා කවුද කතා කරන්නේ මම yes what's your name you have to identify yourself the American president giving a press conference when someone gets up he has to identify himself yeah now you can ask මොකද්ද දැන් ඔබතුමාලා කරන්නේ මේ ජනතාව කියපු දේ නෙමෙයිනේ දැන් ඔබතුමා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ කියපු දේ නිතු කරන්න යන්නේ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ පොරොන්දු වෙච්ච දේ ඉතින් ජනවරමට පයින් ගහලා දෙයක් කරන්න යන්නේ මොකද්ද විවත්තවක් හදන එක වැරදිද මං අහන්නේ හොඳයි අමාත්‍යතුමා අපි මේ විෂයෙන් පොඩ්ඩක් එළියට ගිහිල්ලා ප්‍රශ්නයක් දෙකක් තියෙනවා අහගන්න නෑ නෑ මේ ඔබතුමාලා මේ විෂය පිට බෑ මේ විෂය පිට බෑ නෑ ඔබතුමා මේ අපි මේ ඔබතුමාලා රජයේ මේ දඬුවම් දෙන්නම කියලා කිව්වනේ ඔබතුමාලා දැන් ඊයේ වෙනකොට ගල් අඟුරු මේ සමාගමේ ප්‍රධාන සභාපතිතුමා ඉවත් කරා මේ චරිතය thank you අමතුමා ඒකට උත්තරේ දෙන්නේ නැද්ද ඔබතුමා අදාවේ ව්‍යවස්ථාව ගැන කතා කරන්න
On to one of our headline-making stories. Issuing a media release, the European Union reiterates that Sri Lanka's application to regain GSP Plus is being assessed on the ratification and implementation of 27 international conventions signed by a succession of Sri Lankan governments. According to the EU, these 27 conventions, which had been previously signed, are the only criteria on which Sri Lanka's GSP Plus application is being considered on. The EU states that these conventions relate to international human rights, labour rights, environmental standards and good governance. It adds that benefiting from GSP Plus requires the government to undertake a commitment to make further progress in implementing the conventions and to cooperate with the EU to monitor implementation and address shortcomings. In its media release, the European Union states that it supports the leadership shown by this government in committing to address historic and long-standing problems that have caused conflict and negatively affected the lives and living standards of all Sri Lankans. There are currently 8 GSP Plus beneficiaries: Armenia, Bolivia, Cape Verde, Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, Pakistan, Paraguay and Peru.
Views were expressed on the GSP Plus concession at the weekly cabinet media briefing today.
ඒගොල්ලන් කියන්නේ 58 මොනවද කියලා. ඒ 58 මොනවද කියලා කියන්නේ කියලා. 58 තමයි මේ යුදම්දාවේදී වැන්වර කරපු අමුදානදාරින් අතන් දෙකම සමගලින් ගත්තේ නෑ නෑ යුදම්දාව.
No. If people have been murdered using the war as a precedent, then they should be arrested. That is my opinion. How can you say that? Are you saying that it should not be addressed when Ekna Legoda, who was a person like you, is abducted and killed? Won't you speak out until the same fate befalls you? What do you say about the abduction of Ekna Legoda and the murder of Lasantha Wickrematunge? So are you saying that you are only against it when one of you is killed? One must know that the same can happen to him. It is lies. Tell them to present these 58 conditions. They seem to know it. We saw it ourselves. There are no such proposals. There were just 3 points in this. One is the protection of human rights. Is anyone against that? Second is the protection of good governance. Anyone against that? No. Third is sustainable development. Is anyone against that? All the proposals are based on these 3 conditions. The previous government could not do this because they were entirely against the protection of human rights. How can we promise to anyone that they would be done? These have to be approved by Cabinet and Parliament. No, let those attacks come. That is good. You are still talking while thinking about the Rajapaksa government and the government since 1947. That is not the kind of government we established. We said that this system would be changed. We can freely talk about any idea or opinion. So every person has his own ideas and proposals. We could not defeat Mahinda Rajapaksa in a day either, could we? Even that was a difficult task. It is the same with everything else. That is absurd. So when 10,000 acres were given to the Dole company, was it made a colony by Mahinda Rajapaksa? Are we saying that it will be made a colony? I am certainly not. There is a certain fault in that. But it was given to foreign companies, and if it is being utilized in a productive manner, then it is good. Even to date, I say it is good. But Mahinda Rajapaksa, who did this back then, is speaking against it today. What? How many acres has Mahinda Rajapaksa given? Altogether, it's 10,000. 5,000 just for Matala. That is 2,000 hectares. I have the list with me. Altogether, there is around 10,000 hectares. It wasn't according to the agreement. These were given to foreign companies. He was the one who signed the agreement and put up complexes for fuel tanks. We have this agreement with us. He was the one who signed the agreement for the free trade zone. So when he signs it, he is a patriot. But when we do it, we are traitors.
From the National Human Rights Action Plan, was there any proposal to decriminalize homosexuality?
No, there was nothing as such. There was nothing as such. ඕවා ඔක්කොම පත්තරවල විතරයි තිබුණේ. ඒකේ තිබුණා වෙනස් සාධක. ඕවා නෙවෙයි තිබුණේ. ඔය කතා කරන එකක්වත් ඕවාවත් මේ ගණික.
Those are things that are in the newspaper. There were other facts in it, not that. Even the prostitute matters are all false. There were problems in it. We opposed to those. What he said was that marriage and sexuality should have independence. We said that certain other matters could rise up because of that and remove those words. What it means is that person could have relationships devoid their caste and religion. What we said was that it could be interpreted in various ways even before court.
එක එක්කෙනා ඒක අර්ථකථනය කරන්න පුළුවන් අධිකරණ ඉදිරියේ ගිහිල්ලා කියලා.
Sexual orientation, sir.
ඒ orientation කියන එක තමයි. ඒක විවිධ විදියට අර්ථකථනය කරතයි.
So you want that word removed?
Yes.
Discrimination based on sexual orientation will be removed.
Removed.
Why are you against? Why are you against? Why are you against?
That can lead to other people. That can the legal sources can go and analyze this otherwise in different ways.
What is the government's policy? Is the government against homosexuality?
Yes.
The government is against homosexuality.
And the European Union can't demand those things. Even in their country, the Catholic Church was against. Even there are few countries who have actually brought laws on that homosexuality. That is also after about 25 years struggle. So the same way they have their Catholic Church, we also have our Buddhist temple here.
The Ministry of Finance has taken steps to enforce the new leasing scheme proposed to the 2017 budget. The facility afforded to purchase three-wheelers after paying 10% of the total value of the vehicle has been revised. As a result, prospective buyers now have to pay 25% of the value as a down payment. The Ministry of Finance is of the opinion that new regulations imposed on loans will have an impact on leasing out of three-wheelers. The down payment required to lease a car or a van, which earlier stood at 30% of the vehicle's value, has now been revised to 50%. The percentage for lorries and buses has been increased to 90%. The release issued by the Ministry of Finance notes that the new regulations will not be applicable to those in the transport sector and those in the tourism sector. They will be able to enjoy 100% lease out for vehicles.
The Gunmather door-to-door campaign has several teams from Newsfirst journeying through 3 districts with a pledge to take heed of the issues faced by rural Sri Lankans.
3 teams journeyed today as well, covering the districts of Kilinochchi, Badulla and Anuradhapura. The main issue faced by the people in Nachikuda, Kilinochchi, Mulandaville and Veeraville was the lack of clean drinking water, dilapidated roads and lack of transport facilities. The News1st team touring the Kilinochchi district took note of the problems faced by the residents in Yanimadam, Karkativ, Nachikuda, Mulandaville and Veeraville areas. When the team journeying the Badulla district visited the Orabadivava area in Mahayangania, we came across villagers facing numerous difficulties due to the lack of infrastructure facilities in the area. We also observed a rapid spread of chronic kidney disease in many areas in the Badulla district. Another team toured the Anuradhapura district with a pledge to listen to the issues faced by rural Sri Lankans.
Addressing a ceremony in Colombo today, Minister of Megapolis and Western Development, partly Champika Ranawaka, expressed his views.
We have undertaken a new task to initiate light railway system with the help of Japanese government. It's $1.2 billion project connecting Battaramulla to the Colombo CBD and the port city. And also we will have a new multimodal transport hub there in Battaramulla to facilitate all these new developments. I am happy to say that in the next 5 years' time it will be a reality.
Welcome to Sports News with me, Bernadine Jazz Singha. The stage is set to hold the sport's first Platinum Awards for the second year. The launch and media briefing of the sport's first Platinum Awards was held this evening at the auditorium of the Ministry of Sports.
Sports First Platinum Awards is the first award ceremony organized by a private media organization in order to honor and recognize sportsmen, women and coaches. Plans are underway this time around to hold the Sports First Platinum Awards and present awards under several categories. A media briefing was held today to signal the launch of the Platinum Awards. The event was graced by a number of distinguished guests and was colourful by multiple entertainment acts. Awards will be presented under 20 categories, followed by 10 evaluation awards and a Lifetime Achievement Award. Applications for the Platinum Awards could be obtained from the head office of the Capital Maharaja Organisation in Colombo 2, the Sports Ministry, or by logging on to the official website www.sportsfirst.lk. The applicants will be evaluated by an eminent jury headed by Kishu Gomes, which also includes Julian Bowling, Thalebur Layama, Ajit Fernando, Damayanti Darsha, Shriyani Kulavansa, Tilakaratna Dilshan and Ruan Karagala. The Sport First Platinum Awards will be held on the 31st of March at the Stein Studios in Ratmalana.
Well, that brings us to the end of Primetime News for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
And I am Shayan Dhurampati. Good night and take care.